Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's podcast regarding outreach, the voters' outreach, and the NFB convention coming up. This is Sean Williams. I'm your host for this month's podcast. We're going to have a very packed podcast for you, so I hope you guys will enjoy this podcast and maybe learn a little something along the way. So, first, before I begin, I'd like to thank the Flint Library for hosting this podcast, or rather for giving us the space to host this podcast. And we have a few, I have a few guests with me. Stephen Crouch is to my left. Hello there, Stephen.
Hey, what's going on? It's great to be on the podcast.
Yeah, awesome. Yep, awesome. And then DeMonte Scott is on my left as well.
Hello, everyone. I am DeMonte Scott, representative for the Flint Genesee chapter of the National Federation of the Blind.
And Jason Bias. Hey there, sir.
Hello, I'm Jason Bias. I'm also a board member.
Awesome. And we have Pat Love as our guest. She's going to be talking about the voters outreach event. Thank you, Pat, very much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. So, well, let's get started. Stephen, first question regarding the voters outreach event.
All right. So the first question to ask is, why is it so important for blind and visually impaired people to vote? Why is it so important?
That's a very good question. And so thank you for asking me that question. When I look back at the history of voting in this country, there was a time when people with disabilities were not allowed to vote. And so they were being ostracized like the Blacks or African Americans were back, during the Jim Crow era. And then when civil rights came along, civil rights not only opened the doors for Black people or African American people, but it also opened the door and made ways for people with disabilities like myself that is blind and visually impaired. It's very important that society, our state, the country hears our voice. Okay, so we need to get out there, let the world know that we have rights, we have decisions, we understand policy. There are things that we would like to see put in place. There are barriers that we would like to see taken out of the way. And so the way we do that is by getting out there and voting. So our votes are very important to people that are blind and visually impaired.
Cool.
Very true. Very true.
Yes.
Tomato, you want to take the next one?
Yes, Miss Pat, what does October is Blind Awareness Month? What significance does that have to you?
It has a lot of significance. It's the one time during the year where blind people, and when I say blind people, I'm talking about blind people and low vision people, is that one time of the year during the month of October that we can get out and showcase. We can get out and celebrate who we are. I always tell people that are blind and low vision, embrace who you are. Embrace the fact that, yes, I am blind or low vision, but that doesn't set the bar. That doesn't set the standard of who I am. I'm more than my blindness. I'm more than my low vision. And so by getting out there and showcasing and showing the city, the state, what blind people can do, advocating for ourselves, being independent, putting on things like the voter outreach program that is coming up next week, letting people know that, hey, look, blind people are interested and they can get the job done. And so by us being visible, and October allows us to be more visible. Now, I think it's very, very important that people understand that you need to be out there every single day, every single month. Just don't choose October, but every single month is important to someone that is blind and visually impaired. To educate people. I always tell students, and I tell adults too, we are the best educators when it comes to what a blind person can do. I don't like to say what we can't do, but we're in the business of advocating and showing society what we can do.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you.
So, Pat, if you don't mind, let's switch gears for a minute and talk about your future hopes for these accessible voting machines, because I'm a fluent Braille reader, as are you, and I was wondering what your future hopes are for these voting machines that talk. Because mine is certainly seeing Braille display support.
Yes, that's a good question, Sean. I'm glad you brought that up. So I've been using those machines since they became available in my area. I live in Grand Blanc, Michigan, or Grand Blanc, however you want to pronounce it. And so I've been, and I get excited. Number one, I want to say I'm excited that we do have the machines. Now, can they be improved upon? Yes, like anything else. I will love to see the machine set up so that we can use our refreshable Braille display. I can actually take my Brilliant and hook it up to the machine and be able to access it that way, or hook up a Mantis to the machine, or, hook up a Braille No Touch Plus to the machine. So that's my hopes for the future, that they will make it more accessible in the sense that we can use their Braille displays. Also, I do feel that they can improve the auditory feature on the machines and make it go more smoother, to access the speech, to access the not just the speech, but the speech rates and that kind of thing. I noticed that when I used the machine back here during the primary, it was difficult to hear through the headphones. And then I had to go through the menus, cycle through the menus in order to turn the volume up. But then the volume would go back down. So those are little things that I think that they need to work on to improve those machines for the future use.
Awesome. Yeah, and you're correct. Because to give it and put it in more perspective, rather, you can certainly increase the voice rate, but what happens is you'll hear it'll be very sluggish as it's the next item.
It would be very
Yes.
robotic.
Correct. But also, I think Braille support is definitely important because we, in fact, in our Flint chapter, have a couple of members who are deafblind, and this is certainly a very huge need for those who are deafblind or hard.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes, great point.
Stephen, next question.
So being prepared is always good, and you always have to think of the inevitable when it comes to things. For example, what should a blind or visually impaired person what should they do if a voting machine is not present at their precinct? What should they do?
That's a good question. I think, first of all, what I always do is I call the precinct to make sure that that machine is there. Don't wait till November the 5th.
Right.
But they need to be doing this now. They need to be checking at their different precincts to make sure those machines are there. If you get there and the machine isn't there, then you need to get a hold of the clerk's office right away and say, hey, I'm blind or I'm print disabled and I need this accessible machine. I have a right to be able to vote in private, just like everybody else. I don't want somebody reading the ballot, because now you're losing your, you're losing that confidentiality, and you're losing that security when you got a sighted person trying to read the ballot for you. You need to have that ability to do that yourself. So they need to get a hold of their precincts early to find out if the machine is there, make sure that machine is set up. If they arrive on that day and there is no machine, get a hold of your clerk's office.
Absolutely.
Great.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, great way to advocate too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. So, well, you answered part of my first question, but here's the I have a question. When did these machines become accessible? Do you read, or have they always been accessible ever since you've been voting?
Oh, no. So we really are thankful and grateful for organizations like the National Federation for the Blind. So yay to them. Hats off to them. Yeah, and hats off to the other organization, American Council for the Blind. No, so they actually had to fight. When I say we, I'm talking about NFB, the National Federation for the Blind. So they actually had to go to Congress and fight to get these machines, these accessible machines. And then we had to fight in each individual state to get these accessible machines. So here in Michigan, it has not been that long at all. I'm trying to think. Oh, I would say up here in my area where I live. So I live right outside of Flint in one of the suburbs. And so I would say about what, 5, 7 years now?
Wow.
I would say maybe since 2015 or 16. And then back then the machines, it wasn't all that accessible. So there were some things that you had to do to make it work.
Oh, so relatively new technology.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, wow. Cool. Okay. Um, so Pat, I was wondering, are there any available resources such as websites or articles dedicated to accessibility when it comes to voting?
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys are aware of Democracy Live. That's a good website to go to. As a matter of fact, that group go out of their way to make sure that the machines and different things like that is accessible. You can also go to michigan.gov/voting, and there should be some articles on accessible voting machines on their website. I think each state is supposed to have articles and resources on their government on their government page that will point people. And then if you just Google accessible voting machines in Michigan, those articles and locations should come up.
Okay. Awesome.
Mhm.
Okay.
Who wants to? Me or Steve?
See.
Oh, okay. So Pat, here's a good one. Are there any ways to reach out and submit feedback to any company that produces these accessible voting machines?
Oh, absolutely. So once you know the name of the company, I can think of the name of the one right here that we use in the Flint area, because there's different machines in different areas. Because I understand that Detroit has one model, I think, that they use down in that area, and then up here in Genesee County they're using a different model. And so yeah, so you contact the company that makes these machines, and you can give them the feedback, and that's very, very important that we do that. You can also send your feedback to the National Federation for the Blind, and they'll make sure that it gets to the right people. And then you can also go to American Council for the Blind, to their webpage, and they can get the information to those companies.
So, Ms. Pat, besides the significance of voting, I mean, for everyone, for the president or whatnot, what would be the importance of a person with low vision or blind if they didn't choose to use the technology and go out and vote?
That's good, because here's the deal. Don't complain. I mean, if they put this stuff out here for us, okay, and we fought to get these accessible machines in place. So it behooves all of us to get off our butts and get out there and go in person and vote. If we're not using those machines, then what's going to happen? They're going to say, oh, we've had this machine in this area for 2 or 3 years and no one has come in to use the machine. They're going to take that machine out of that precinct. So it's important that, you can do the absentee voting, which is okay if that's your preference. But let's show NFB and let's show these other people that got out there and fought to get these machines in place. Let's show them that we really appreciate the hard work that they have done by actually getting out there and utilizing those machines. And I can always tell whether or not the machines are being used, because when I walk in and people look at you like, oh, what machine? So it should become so second nature to the folks that are working at our precincts that, oh, okay, so here comes this person with a white cane, or this person that is low vision. I know exactly what machine they're going to need. I shouldn't have to come into a precinct and say, do you have the accessible voting machines? It should just be second nature, but it isn't second nature because unfortunately, a lot of blind folks are not getting out and voting in person. So we need to get out. We need to push, 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 push. Get
Yeah.
out and vote in person. Go use the machines. Show NFB that we really, really, really appreciate the hard fight that you guys did to get those machines in the hands of people that are blind and low vision.
Right answer. Right answer.
Cool
Right answer.
Yeah,
beans.
awesome.
Mhm. That's not Alicia.
Okay.
You got no.
So Pat, I think there's one more question, but can you please share any tips you may have for anyone who wants to spread the word in regards to accessible voting? What should be the first thing they should do?
So they number one, they need to join their NFB affiliation. So each part of the state have a chapter. If they don't have a chapter, then there's an at-large chapter. The main thing is that in order to spread accessibility, we got to get out. We have to get out. We got to get out of our houses and get out there, and we got to show people. We got to talk. We got to knock on doors. We got to, send emails. We need to be writing up letters and PSA announcements and whatever we need to do to get the word out there about how important it is. How important accessibility is for people that are blind. Yeah, you can do a lot of work from your home. Thank God for technology, because we can do a lot of things on our computers, our laptops, our smartphones to spread the word about how important accessibility is. I get calls all the time or asked to present at different departments here in the state of Michigan, whether it's the Natural Resources Department, Civil Rights Department, because they want to know, they are interested in accessibility and how can they make things more accessible for people that are blind and low vision.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Great tips.
Incredible.
Great tips. Great tips.
Incredible. Yeah.
Wrap it up. I'll wrap it up. Well, Miss Pat, is there any more advice or things that we haven't covered or asked you that you might want to share for the NFB or the general public?
Yes, I just want to encourage people that are listening to this podcast, please join the National Federation of the Blind Flint chapter on October the 17th from 11 to 2 at the Brennan Center. We're going to have the accessible voting machine there, so you'll get a chance to learn all about it, get your hands on it so that you know how to use it before November the 5th. And there's going to be people there from the Genesee clerk office as well as the Flint clerk office. And so Disability Network will also be there sharing information. So please, please, please get out and come to our voters outreach program on October the 7th and go vote on November the 5th.
Awesome.
Cool
Hey,
beans.
Pat, I do have to ask you something before I close this. Will this information be in Braille? You know I love Braille.
Hey, right. You're like me, Sean. I love Braille. So it should be in Braille. And if it isn't, then please contact your Flint chapter and ask them ahead of time. But anything that people are bringing to the outreach program next Thursday, we have mentioned to them that you must have it in an accessible format. So if you bring in anything in print, it needs to be either in Braille or it needs to be in an auditory format or electronic format.
Okay, awesome.
Cool beans.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much for your time, Pat, and thank you so much for spending this time to talk about a subject that's very, very important that people need to know about. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank you
time.
very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we are back in the same video, if you guys can believe it, and we have another guest on the line or on the Zoom meeting, and that is Robert Parsons. Robert, I want to thank you very much as the host for coming on this interview. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Say the president.
And he is the president of the NFB.
Right.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Thanks everyone. I'm happy to be here. So my name is Robert Parsons again, and I'm the state president of the NFB of Michigan, National Federation of the Blind of Michigan. So happy to be connected again with the Flint Genesee chapter and all of the wonderful work we're doing, and happy to talk about the wonderful topics we're going to talk about.
Awesome. Monte, you want to start?
Yes. So, Robert, Could you tell me about some of the bills that we are advocating for currently?
Yeah, so we just finished our Lansing gathering, which took place September 24th. And the Lansing gathering is our state gathering on our Capitol, where we come and we schedule meetings to discuss topics, and specifically talk about bills that affect the blind of Michigan. So we were specifically focused on three issues that are specifically focused on the blind of Michigan. The first is the the Blind Parents Bill of Rights, which is a bill focused both in the Michigan House and Senate to protect the rights of blind parents. This is focusing on the protection of their rights, both in adoption and making sure that they have the ability to not be subject to implicit bias or any type of bias by professionals in different fields like the medical field or social workers, etc. But also for those who are parents, blind parents, and that are dealing with issues, whether it's surrounding custody, whether they're dealing with divorce, or they're just dealing with issues with said professionals and making sure that their rights are protected. So what this bill really talked about was making sure that if there are going to be questions about the skills of the parenting of that blind parent, that it's actually based in fact, that there's actually reasonable evidence that sustains that idea that there's some type of reason to look into the parent's ability to parent, and if so, that the agency that's seeking to look into the parenting of that blind parent has a chance to make sure that they know about how parents that are blind parent, because often even professionals come in biased and they have an idea that they think that every parent's the same, and we all know that even sighted parents get it wrong. So that's the first bill. The
Okay.
second bill, I'm sorry, do you have any questions about that one?
No, sir. No, sir. No,
Keep
sir.
going.
Oh,
Continue.
okay. Yeah. So the second bill was is focused on, excuse me, accessible prescription labels. And this one is really important as well because it's accessible prescription drug labels. And this is about making sure that we are creating a bill that is making sure that all of the drug companies, all of the pharmacies are providing an accessible option for for blind people to be able to access medication and labels. So this could include something as simple as the machines that create braille labels, or including things like script talk. We've seen this type of policy adopted in different states in different ways, and our goal is to make sure that Michigan has a similar policy, a similar bill that makes sure that every pharmacy, especially the big ones, are supporting, and the small ones are supporting an accessible way for us to read our labels. And the reasoning behind this really stems for a few things. One is that we want to make sure that accessibility is key, and that blind people have access to the medications that they're prescribed or that they need to take. The second is that let's be realistic, and that some of this is based in fact. Diabetes is the leading cause of blindness in the United States. So with so many people on something like a metformin, which is an oral medication that's prescribed to people that are type 2 diabetic, or for people that are taking insulin injections, it is ideal that the labels that they're reading is accessible, whether it is that they have a QR code that they can scan, or it's that they have a braille label that they can read. So that's the second bill.
Yeah.
And then and then the final bill is the strengthening of the white cane law and making sure that we can protect the rights of blind pedestrians when they're crossing the streets and they're traveling. And this one is really important as well because the white cane, we are in the month of October, and it is Blind Equality Achievement Month. And October 15th is National White Cane Safety Day. National White Cane Safety Day is important because the white cane is the United States recognized symbol of of blindness. So it is the way that a person, whether sighted or not, is able to understand, from educational standpoint, that a person that's using that cane is blind. or is that or meets the definition of legal blindness. They shouldn't be carrying a cane if they don't, I would say. But so that's kind of what we're talking about with October 15th. Now, the reason this is important is because the white cane law, which established the right for pedestrians to be able to use that cane as a symbol for motor vehicle operators to abide and recognize and respect blind people's rights to cross safely and to ambulate or to be mobile and orient safely throughout public. That bill hasn't been touched in the state of Michigan. So currently in this state, if a blind person that's crossing the street was to get hit by a car, the penalty surrounding the person that hit that blind pedestrian hasn't been examined, updated, or changed since 1964.
Oh, no.
Wow,
Mhm.
jeez.
So we're
Oh.
talking 60 years ago.
Yeah.
Ew.
To take it further,
Mhm.
not only that, but we're also talking about the fact that this bill, and because we wanted to address strengthening the penalties that surround getting a person that gets hit or struck by a vehicle, if they're blind, and what happens, because there wasn't much recourse done in Michigan. Other states, there are 13 states, I believe, that haven't updated the penalties, and Michigan is one of them, nationwide. So we fit in that category. But another piece of this is that pertains to guide dogs. We are a state that has a guide dog school, Leader Dogs for the Blind. And in this state, guide dogs are looked at as property, not as a guide dog, a service dog, or anything else. So in this state, under this law, as its antiquated penalties exist, if a blind person that is crossing the street with their guide dog gets hit by a car, the maximum amount of any type of funds they could get back is $150.
Whoa.
If that dog passes away,
Mhm.
that's still the amount they get.
Wow.
There is nothing in the law that will have recourse for that blind person to have any type of emotional support for the expenses that they put into supporting and making sure that dog had a great life, or anything that they have to put into making sure that dog has a great send-off. So these are things that we had to consider when we were advocating about making sure that blind people are considered when they're crossing the street, because it's not just about making sure we're punishing or making sure that the penalties are strict for the drivers, but what message are you telling blind people if we're telling drivers that this is all that happens when you hit a blind person, or if you were to strike a blind person and hurt their guide dog?
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy, especially since, I mean, hopefully the dog would make it and the person would make it, but that dog could have thousands of dollars of vet bills, stuff like that. And
Absolutely.
recourse.
And to take it further, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but to take it further, and one thing that we did, the National Federation of the Blind did that we were really effective in, is we actually took this bill and passed it in the House already. Got it through the House, so we're waiting for it actually in the Senate side, because we were able to testify on the House floor in the spring about why this bill is important. And the reason we did that, and we had a few of us, myself included, that came to a virtual session and talked about this, was that we talked about it from a few perspectives. First of all, the unemployment rate for blind people hovers somewhere around 70% nationwide. Now, if blind people already are given this type of deterrent for going outside or traveling, do you think they'll feel comfortable wanting to commute to work?
Right.
No.
So how could we really promote our people to put back into society the way we really know what we can? We have a ton of talented blind people that can work and that can be great and can continue to live the lives they want. But if we don't protect them, if something happens out there, then what are we saying? Another thing is to think about our students. We have a higher rate of people that are, a higher rate of quieter cars, right? So we have quiet cars, quieter buses, quieter SUVs, all that other stuff, and we have blind students. Some of these blind students have guide dogs. So we have to think about school zones, we have to think about those things. And students, they want to be safe, but we also, are we alienating students and telling them that they can't go to school? So we talked about this from different perspectives on the House floor, and that moved the House to vote the bill up. So now it's up to the Senate to match them, and hopefully we can get some language to get some tighter things going and really get some weight behind it to strengthen the penalties.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Yes.
I'm sorry if I took too long, but I wanted to make sure
No,
everybody got a
no.
full description.
No, that's fine.
We have number time.
Steven?
So so we're gonna switch gears into employment, and actually I'm gonna ask a tricky but challenging question here. But actually I'm gonna kill two questions with one stone, actually. But it's sort of tricky, but you can ask away, answer it in the way you want to. So my thing is, what is the current status what is the current unemployment status amongst blind and visually impaired individuals? And if the statistics are high, how can we as blind and visually impaired people overcome that barrier?
That's a really great question, Stephen. All right, so yeah, I can take a couple of bite-sized pieces of this to hopefully get to a great answer for this, right? So the number, the percentage of unemployment nationally for blind people ranges between 66 and 71%, and that fluctuates up and down.
Yeah.
But that number, and I want to make sure that we're aware, that number includes underemployment as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's that. Now, that's a high number, but I want to also include that of our population of blind people, we also want to remember that of the group that's employed, 10% of that group are Braille literate. So I think there is something to consider, because it also tells you that there is something that we can bring for, excuse me, I had that number backwards, I'm sorry. I had that statistic backwards. So let me make sure I restate that. Of that number, 10% of the, I'm sorry, of the number that's employed, so of the 30% of that total national that's employed, of that number, 90% of them are Braille literate. Not fully, but they grade 1, grade 2, they have Braille experience.
Right.
So what I think, what that tells me is that training, tech training, some type of Braille introduction, orientation, mobility skills, making sure you have those foundational things is definitely the first step in the right direction. Because the truth is that everyone's an individual, and you all are going to have, everyone's going to have an interest, right? So not necessarily sold personally that there's a field that that's better for blind people. I think that the Federation tells you to live the life you want because the Federation believes that blindness is not the characteristic that defines you or your future. We can literally thrive in any field, but with training, we definitely thrive, and we stand a higher rate, a higher probability of thriving. So those kind of create what I call, and I'm a rehabilitation counselor. That's one of my professions. So that creates what we call transferable skills. And those skills are things that you can use no matter what job you take it to, what craft you take it to. Those skills come back up. Those skills like knowing your technology, knowing your JAWS, know how to use your iPhone or Android. I don't know what you like. You know, things like that. Because even though those things get upgraded, they also transfer. And you may have to use it for your next project or your next promotion, etc. Did that help, Stephen, with answering the question?
It did, yeah.
Okay.
So Robert, I've got a question, and this is about technology. So So we're coming up to the state convention, you know, it happens every year and there's a lot of hype and awesomeness that goes on there. So regarding that, who are some of the tech vendors that we'll get to see this year
Yeah.
at the convention?
Okay. So we have a few, all right. So we are, first off, let's go back to State Convention, October 31st to November 3rd at the Radisson Center, Kalamazoo Plaza. So if you are not registered for the National Federation of the Blind 2024 State Convention, please register now because it's going to be a great time. Now, when it comes to our vendors and technology, there are a lot of ways that you're going to be able to meet them. The first opportunity, of course, will be at the exhibit hall. So the exhibit hall is Friday, November 1st from 11 to 6. So registering will definitely help you to be able to meet some tech vendors. Some of those include, of course, AT guys. I'm sure some of you are familiar with AT.
Yeah.
They are a sponsor and we'll have a table. iLearn is definitely there as well. If any of you are familiar with iLearn, it is it's a AT training center out of Detroit. So they'll be there and they are actually doing a breakout session that's all about teaching taking photos. Being able to take photos.
Yeah, I do that myself.
Yeah, so all about photography. So that's going to be kind of cool. Ira is actually doing a breakout session on Friday as well.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
that's going to be really exciting. And the director, Everett Bacon, our second vice president of the National Federation of Blind, is the one that is leading the Ira breakout session, and that will be on Friday afternoon. So Ira's another tech vendor that you'll be able to connect with. Trying to think of here a couple more I can think of off the bat. There's some we do have hymns coming in. We just got that. Yep.
Wow. Yes.
Yes. And these are all kind of new because we're really getting some new ones just as they're coming in. So hymns did sign on, so we do have hymns, yes. And if there are some more, I will definitely keep you all updated. But a great way to get some pre-convention updates and announcements is to follow the Facebook page, NFB of Michigan Facebook page, because there will be pre-convention highlights and announcements about the vendors and sponsors every 2 days. Or if you are signed up for our NFB of Michigan Talk email list, you'll also get those same announcements.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, Robert, this next question might be a little dear to you because I believe that at state convention, there are positions up for voting. Could you explain or tell us about how that goes and what the process is with that?
Yeah. So we have a business meeting every convention, state convention, and every year, depending on the year, there may be positions of the state board of directors that is up, either the officers or the board members may be up for election, depending on what year it is, because the way our state constitution is written, it's a alternating year. So on the even year, the officers are up for election, and on the odd year, the board members are up for election. So the even year, which is this year, the officers, which is president, first and second vice, treasurer, and secretary, are up for election. So as long as you are a dues paying member, so a member that has paid their dues, and you are registered for the convention, you will be able to participate in all business throughout the weekend. What does business mean? Business means that your voice vote and your card vote counts in the committee meetings, like the resolutions committee, as well as during the business meeting when we have to take a vote, like during elections. It also means that if you so fit, or if you so feel that you think there's someone that you feel like could do the job at the state board level of being an officer, you could nominate them because you have the power to do so as a dues paying member. So as long as you are a member of an active chapter, and you'll know if you have an active chapter because then you ain't got a problem.
Right.
And if you're not a member of a chapter, you also can do that if you're a member of a division. So you're safe if you're a member of students or seniors, or if you're a member of any local chapter or at large. Or if you're a member of both, then you're double fine. And the way voting works is it's definitely a voice vote. However, if the vote gets close, we do have a backup, which is our voting card system. So what that means is that when you all come to convention and pick up your registration packs, there will be a few cards in there. One of them will be a card that is like your passport card, the BRB passport for the exhibit hall. So if you have purchased a BRB passport and you're participating in the raffle program, and you'll meet all your exhibitors and show your passport cards, you'll get your keynote, your key phrase. And if you hand your card in to me with the phrase, then you're entered in for a chance to win $150. However, if you have your other card, as long as you have your other card and you're a dues paying member, it will have that, it'll say voting card on it. And that you need to keep the whole time you're in the business meetings, because that will be the way that if it gets to a tight vote, that's the way we verify to make sure we can count the votes if we have to.
Okay. And so if one wants to purchase the first type of card you were talking about, what do they have to do?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Okay, so this is October, Blind Equality Achievement Month, and BEAM gets celebrated in a bunch of different ways. Different chapters and different divisions are doing different things, and I'm so proud of everyone for doing your different ways of spreading awareness of how blind people live their lives and achieve equality throughout our different communities and statewide. Our state affiliate also does its part, and we are promoting the importance of Braille because we know that we're working towards the I almost said the resurrection, not really the resurrection, but the resurgence of the Bell program in 2025. Bell is our program for youth that stands for Braille Enrichment, Literacy, and Learning. And it is slated to take place in Lansing, hosted by our Capital Region chapter in the summer. So it is going to be focused on Braille literacy for the kiddos, the little ones. And we are excited to start fundraising and making sure we're raising awareness about the importance of Braille, because like we said earlier, Braille, there is a direct pipeline from Braille to employment and from Braille to academic success for students, especially for our blind students. So if we can be a way to make sure that that those students get on the right path, we definitely want to make sure our program can do that. So the fundraiser we're doing is called Dots with Distance. So the dots, of course, Braille dots with distance is because we're going to make our Braille travel to you. So you can sign up for two different packages. The $5 simple note package is just a way to send a Braille note to yourself, to a friend, and it could be something as simple as a shopping list, to a love letter, to some of your favorite quotes or affirmations, and you would fill out the form and complete the information of who you're sending it to, whether it's to yourself or to a friend, etc. And that information, that Braille item would be shipped to the person that you would send it to after you would submit the $5 donation via the NFB of Michigan donate page. However, if you choose the second option, which is the Braille Readers Brigade, the BRB package, that's $15. You're getting everything. So you're going to get the $5 note, your customized note, but you're also going to get a Brailled 1-minute message, the NFB Brailled pledge. You're going to get your BRB passport card. So the passport card says 2024 National Federation of the Blind of Michigan, Braille Readers Brigade passport. And then it has your name customized in it in Braille. And on the back side, in large print, it says the same thing. It has full colors on it, et cetera, et cetera. You bring that passport card to convention, and every table you go to, when you show that card to them, they're going to give you a word. Those words will come together to make a phrase. When you find me, just give me the card and give me the phrase before banquet, and you're entered in for a chance to win $150 in cash during banquet.
Okay. Awesome.
Oh, man. Pique my interest. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Drink Ovaltine.
So just to plug the URL, nfbmi.org/BRB will take you right to that application, and you fill out the form and you can take care of everything.
Can you say that one more time, please?
Yeah.
nfbmi.org NFB.org/BRB. BRB,
Okay.
Braille Readers Brigade, BRB.
Awesome.
Cool beans. So I'll go ahead and I want to redirect your thoughts upon the topic of employment. We've covered the statistics and we've covered overcoming the barriers and laying the foundations down, but I want to focus on mentoring for a minute. So with this question, is there any career mentoring programs such as training seminars available that takes place within the NFB? And if so, can blind visually impaired people and as well as sighted people, can they join?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's always opportunities for mentorship in the Federation, right? And we do it at different levels. So if we're talking about our affiliate, there are a few opportunities that we can talk about. I'll talk about the first, which is that I was really proud that we put together our first ever leadership statewide conference where we brought together every chapter president in the entire state board in order to come together and make sure that the entire state leaders were able to talk about how they could work together to make the affiliate be stronger and make sure that the members got more out of the Federation's message and how we could make sure our leaders grew from what the philosophy was giving us. And I think that our chapters have grown since leadership. Leadership took place in April in Ann Arbor. Some of you may remember that your chapter presidents were there. And you may have noticed some changes have happened in your chapter since then. But what the fun part about this is that, and I don't know if your chapter president told you, but the goal of leadership is that every year we are going to make sure that a new leader has an opportunity to have that experience. So there will always be a new class of leaders that will be having a leadership weekend and will be building and learning how to come and ascend to that next level of mentorship with the state board and with the chapter presidents, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So that's one place that it occurs. Another is that I know that our students are in a really great position that I'm trying to work with them on taking more advantage of, which is that the student division in the Federation is in a place where they have mentorship from different avenues. They are a division of the NFB of Michigan, and they are a chapter of the National Association of Blind Students. So in times of need and guidance, whether it's challenges with things in school or challenges with things just in blindness in general, from a student issue, or even if it's not school related, if you're in between, whether you're trying to figure out school, because a lot of people that are in student status aren't technically registered for school. You have the opportunity to turn to your NABS family and turn to your NFB of Michigan family for guidance and mentorship. And NABS does a ton of regional seminars and national seminars. Chicago, Stephen, I think you know, we do the Chicago seminar, which is
I've been there once. Yep, it was great.
So that's a way that students are able to get out and they go to Chicago and do the student seminar in March. Washington seminar is there's a national weekend, usually right before people advocate on Capitol Hill. So if you're a student, that's a way for students to do some mentorship there. And the seniors also have a weekend retreat that they do nationally. So the National Federation of the Blind, we have opportunities for mentorship at different levels. And the best way, I think, to get that information is to start with your chapter president or your division president. Because even if they are not aware of any that's going on, they usually can talk to the state board and then we can reach out and find out what we know too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, on that, kind of on that same tangent, note or whatever, could you explain or talk a little bit about the REAL program?
Yeah. So the REAL program REAL is an acronym. It stands for Raising Expectations, Accessing Life. And it takes place every year right before our National Commission. right at the end of June, and it usually lines up right at the end of the academic school year for the kiddos. It's a two-track program, and the reason we have it in two tracks is because we run two programs. One is our STEM to You track, which STEM to You is actually our national curriculum, which is a partnership between the National Federation of the Blind and COSI, which is the Center of Science and Investigation. And they come up with a completely non-visual scientific curriculum that is based in STEM. And it is to make sure that we are promoting confidence of blind students in STEM, in the STEM field, in the STEM environment. Even if they don't want to become scientists themselves, we want to make sure that they're comfortable knowing the principles of science and investigation in the classroom, because this is a way that we can make sure that they know that blind people can do science and that there are blind people out there in the field actually doing it, because there are so many people that don't go in the field because they may feel like they never knew that there were blind people that did that work. So this is an introduction. However, the STEM to You track is a family track. So every child ages 8 to 13 that registered is required to register with their parent. And the parent comes and they are required to also attend some of the curriculum they are observing, and some of the program, they're actually sitting in sessions and working with our parents, our blind parents, and some of our leaders to understand about the philosophical approach that we take to blindness and how we observe blind children and blind youth getting comfortable in the space of learning, because we want to make sure that parents allow for blind children to explore and do that. And it can be a learning time for those parents sometimes, because we all know that sometimes sighted parents can be overprotective. So it's a great way for us to introduce that type of experience. And it also is a way for social activities and social opportunities to occur, because some of these kiddos from 8 to 13 are from different parts of the state. So they're able to create a network between the parents and the children, and they're able to introduce things about blindness that they may have not been introduced to yet. This past year, we had it in Flint, and when we had it at the Hilton Garden Inn, we took all of the kiddos and the students over to the movies, and we introduced them to the auto-described movie headsets, many of them for the first time. And the parents, I think, were more excited than the kids were.
Yes, I agree. They were. I was a mentor. I was a volunteer there. I agree.
Yeah. So that's track one. So that's STEM to You track, ages 8 to 13. And then we have our NFB of Michigan Scholars track, and that's 14 to 26. So that's the pre-employment transition services, pre-S. And that track is about, again, preparing young professionals, preparing students in that age, that area, where they're in transition, they're coming of age, and they're trying to figure things out. This is getting them those transferable skills. So it's a weekend-long program. It's running the same time as the kids. So while they're in one side of the hotel learning STEM, we're in business meetings, and we're teaching these teens or young adults about the importance of resume writing, what the difference between a functional resume and a chronological resume, a business resume is. What does an eligibility requirement mean to an applicant, and why is it important? How does interview skills weigh when you're determining whether or not you're going to disclose your blindness when you walk in a room? These are things that we know will transfer later on, because you may not be applying for a job right this second, but you're thinking about it later on. So we plan to see. And likewise, we do still have those social opportunities. So students are able to network with each other. They're meeting each other sometimes for the first time. Sometimes they know each other already. And we have opportunities for them to go out and leave the hotel. This year we took them to the farmers market, and we had an opportunity where they were able to talk to all of the vendors and do motivational interviews with the vendors about their experiences as entrepreneurs, so that if any of them had an idea of becoming their own business owner, they could ask questions about that. Some of them were more interested in shopping. I was more interested in living, hey.
Right.
And then, of course, we had our Flint Gala, which all of you are, I'm pretty sure, really familiar with, which was also running concurrent with our program. So both tracks, both sides of the tracks of the program, the real program, came to the gala and had a wonderful time. And we had a blast. It was a great weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, Robert, if you don't mind, let's switch to technology again, because I'm curious, let me start it like this. Technology, especially for blind individuals, we know that it's very expensive, right? And so we often have to save our money, honestly, maybe a couple of years. I mean, it depends on the piece of tech that you get. So my question is, what technology services does the NFB offer? Or do you guys offer any technology grants? Just answer that if you could.
Mm. Well, so I don't know about technology grants, but I do know that there are a lot of opportunities with the NFB. And we do provide gateways to opportunities. So I think the first thing to consider is thinking about what the technology you're getting and what the use of it is for, because that may answer the question of where to best get it from. That would be my thing, right? Like, let's say, for example, if you're looking to get a new Braille display,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
And the Braille display is for, let's say you need it for work.
Mhm.
And you're looking, let's say you got a job offer and you know that job, that in order for you to really be effective at that job, you're going to need that piece of technology, but that piece of technology is running you at least like $3,500.
Yeah.
You could come to the Federation. The Federation ideally could have that money. However, what I think the Federation would probably do, at least what I would do as the state president, is have a conversation with you, because you as a blind person that has a job offer have the right to talk to your rehabilitation counselor about the fact that as a reasonable accommodation, there should be a discussion perhaps about why that piece of technology can't be procured by the state in order for you to make sure that that's an investment that they're putting in for you to have job retention. So rather than us, and it's not saying that we wouldn't spend the money on there, but we would invest in making sure that you knew your rights there, so that way you could keep that job and wouldn't feel like you'd have to keep coming back and asking other people for those funds over and over again, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, additionally, we do have different opportunities. Like we have our NFB Writers Program active competition every year convention. I think that has like a prize, that a cash prize, I think, that's given out each year that you can apply for creative submissions and stuff. So there are those things that happen. But I would just say, like, for like those really sizable piece of technology things, we would probably help out with like helping you get those resources so that we could see what's the best way to make sure that you got it without struggling to get it.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Robert. And so, let me end it with this. Let's say I'm sitting on the fence. I don't know if I'm a little apprehensive. I don't know whether I want to go or if I don't. Tell me three things. Tell me three things of why I should go to the state convention. What would I get out of it?
What would you get out of coming to the 2024 NFB of Michigan State Convention?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So first of all, one, you would have the kick buttest, and that is a word. Yes, the kick buttest
It is.
exhibit hall of any state convention, and I challenge any NFB state president to battle me. This year in 2024, we have the best state convention exhibit hall, so we're kicking butt right now. So best exhibit hall ever. That's
Okay.
number one. So that's on Friday. Number two, you get to see somebody cry like a baby when they eat hot wings on Saturday night. Because that Hot Ones Challenge, Federation Fire Challenge, after our banquet in the hospitality suite will take place. And I invite everyone who loves a good trivia and loves a good Hot Wings Challenge to come on up and have some fun with us. And part three is because The philosophy is seeping through this agenda, and I think that it's a great way for everyone to understand about why it is that blindness is just a characteristic. The theme of this convention is called Expanding and Defining the Movement. Come join the blind people's movement. Grow with us and help us continue to make our mark and define what it is to move. Because that's what the Federation does. We move and we make things move.
Wow.
Beans.
Awesome.
Is there anything that we did not ask you that you would like to share with us at this time?
NFBMI.org/convention. That is how you can register. Please register, and we look forward to having you at the Radisson.
Okay,
Beans.
awesome. Well, Robert, I'd like to thank you very much for joining us for this awesome podcast, and thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Yes, have a blessed day.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
Of course. Thank you. It's great having y'all.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
We got left. What you say we have 15 minutes?